We're still studying in the chronological Bible, and we're looking at event 42. But before I proceed, let me just comment on the lead-in cartoon. The last time I went to my orthopedic doctor to check on the hips that I've had replaced and my knees, which are wearing out and are bone on bone, I asked the doctor what will happen next with my knees. And he said, well, you'll start to become bow-legged, and you are. And you'll start to have a little bit more pain, and I am. And you'll either decide to have surgery or you'll become less stable on your knees. And I got to tell you, I do appreciate a handrail. I do appreciate a cane, especially when I haven't been walking for a little while. And so I used to say, there goes a man that's walking like a little old man. Now I walk like a big old man. And getting old isn't fun, but nevertheless, we're still getting around, and it beats the alternative. So we continue to get injections in the knees and try to hold back on not having to have surgery on the knees. Today's event, number 42, is found in Matthew 15, verses 29 to 31, and Mark chapter 7, verses 31 through 37. And it talks about, if you look at the Mark account, Jesus going into the area of Decapolis. Decapolis was to the southeast of the Sea of Galilee, still in the Galilean region, but probably a little bit south of the sea itself and a little bit to the east. And it says he went up on the mountain. And most of the mountains around that area are about 3,000 feet. Now, I can really relate to that because Melrose Mountain that we live in the summer is at approximately 3,000 feet. And it takes almost 20 minutes to drive up the mountain road, which is only 6 miles long. And so I calculate that if the multitudes followed Jesus up onto this mountain, they probably walked between an hour and a half and 2 hours in order to get up on the mountain, unless they went straight up, and I doubt that seriously. I think they would have had to curve around a little bit to get there. But anyway, in case it wasn't an easy trek. But they brought to him lame, crippled, blind, dumb, and blindless. So Jesus was there healing all of these. And he talks about, in this event, just one particular healing. We find that he was healing not only all of these, but the one detailed event was a man who could not hear and who spoke with great difficulty. And we see here that Jesus takes his fingers and he sticks them in the man's ears. Well, that wouldn't be so bad, would it? I mean, after all, our doctors today take a little cone-shaped device and look in our ears, and that wouldn't be so bad. But what it tells us next is that he spit, and he touched the spit to the man's tongue. Now, that takes faith. That takes a trust to have somebody else's spit put in your mouth. But it also points out that Jesus didn't always do everything the same way. And it's almost as if many times he was testing the faith, testing the trust, testing Jesus with their lives, with their bodies. And certainly he tells us quickly that his ears were opened and his impediment of his tongue was removed and he was healed. The other thing I want to mention is he was healed completely. When we see these fake faith healers on TV, many times we see that it's a partial healing or that they want to make a show of it. I don't believe that Jesus ever wanted to make a show of it. But what was Jesus doing? And how do we apply this to our lives? Well, the first thing I think we need to know is that sometimes we have to go out of our way in order to really enter into the kind of relationship that Jesus wants with us. These men climbed probably around 3,000 feet. Many of them may have been using canes, walkers. Many of them may have to have been carried, and that made it even harder to go up this mountain to come to him for healing. So sometimes we have to go out of our way. We have to trust and believe The method of healing here certainly is not one that we really like to think about. The putting the fingers in the ears, no problem, but the putting spit on your tongue, somebody else's spit on your tongue, is not exactly the most pleasant thought in the world. But nevertheless, if you really want something bad enough, now let me say this again, if you really want something bad enough, sometimes it's going to cost you a little bit of inconvenience. Sometimes it's going to cost you a little bit of your own dignity and humility. And I think that we all need to realize that while we may not be comfortable witnessing and testifying out in the public, especially in this politically correct world we live in, sometimes we have to get out of our comfort zone. Because Jesus commanded, "Go ye into the world and tell them the gospel." And sometimes that's just a little inconvenient. Sometimes it's a little bit uncomfortable. But it's a part of his command. And if we want it bad enough, we need to be able to be bold witnesses for him. And that's my thought for the day. God bless you and have a great day. Do you know how to get to heaven? It's clearly written out for us in the book of Romans. The book of Romans tells us that we're all sinners. We all fall short of the glory of God. We've all earned our wages. The wages of sin are death, and we've all earned our wages. But God loved us enough that he sent his Son to die for us. It tells us while we were yet sinners, Christ died for us. And it tells us that we'll confess with our mouth and believe in our hearts that God has raised him from the dead and that he is a perfect sacrifice for us. We will be saved. Now, being saved means turning away from sin and self and turning to Christ and Christ alone by faith for our salvation. Have you ever done that? Why don't you do it today? Watch this little clip about the 3 circles. It'll help you to understand God's perfect plan for your life. God bless you and have a great day.